We went on a family vacation there. I don't know how many years ago. It's been a while since we've been there, but we were wandering around and going. We went on Bourbon Street and did all that kind of stuff. And my family made me go on a boat, which I'm trying to still get over with. And but we were walking, and I don't know how far away we were from Bourbon Street or anything, but we were coming down the street, and there was this empty lot. And in the empty lot was a bunch of people, and they were all facing towards there was a hotel across the street. And I thought, well, what are all these folks? Because they clearly were not just in the empty lot talking to themselves or anything like that. And we're talking like there were some big boulders in that lot, and it wasn't any place just to sit down and have a conversation or anything. They were all watching this hotel. Well, I thought, well, maybe there's somebody, with a big name coming to the hotel. So maybe they're all watching to wait to see this person come out. So we kind of stalled there. And then from the hotel, there was this guy who came out, and clearly he was dressed like a doorman. Is that what you call him? Whatever. So he's there to open up the door for all the guests to come in. Well, there wasn't anybody. He just came out. There were no guests who were coming in. And all of a sudden, he looks at the crowd across the street, and he sings, "Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, won't you wade in the water? God's gonna trouble the water." Well, I thought that was kind of odd. And then all the people across the street, they did this. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, won't you wade in the water? God's gonna trouble the water. Well, again, I thought, well, this isn't like home. Man, clearly I wasn't in Minnesota. I gotta take a time out. The choir's up here saying, "There's no God like Jehovah," and I love our Midwestern ways, but when we start to clap, it's like. When the Lord comes back, there are going to be a bunch of people going, "Yeah, God, and all of us from the Midwest are going, "Thanks for coming. Would you like a bar? We're having a potluck, Jesus. Would you like to come? Did you bring something?" Well, it was a weird phenomenon to be in that place where this guy, the doorman, would sing, and the crowd across the street would do this response back and forth. And it would go on, and Barry, he got tired of it, like, let's go. But I thought it was pretty cool. I had never heard this spiritual before. I knew about spirituals. We sang them in our Midwestern style, There was a certain beat that you had to follow, and everybody kept on with that. But this was very different. Well, it comes to find out that this story, that we read today, has a lot to do with wading in the water. When we get to this story, there's this guy who's been paralyzed for 38 years. So we don't know how old he is. I mean, presumably he's at least 38, right? He could be older than that, though, and he hasn't been able to walk. And so he comes to, now we're in Jerusalem with this, and we're at the temple, and we're in Jerusalem, and we're at the gates around the city, okay? So we're at the gates, and one of them is called the Sheep Gate, Bethesda. And that gate, as I understand it, was kind of built high up. So here's where you could see the pools that were down underneath. Now, there are twin pools there, and then there would be this long staircase that you would come down to get into the pools. And the story is that an angel would stir the pool every once in a while. never knew when it was going to happen. So if there was any kind of movement within that pool, or one of the two pools, the first one down and who got into the pool would be healed. So this guy who's been paralyzed for 38 years, he's there, and he's waiting for the pool to stir. And if he gets in, if he wades in it, he'll be healed. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, won't you wade in the water? God's gonna trouble the water. I told Pat she could move around with this. She asked, okay? But when she went up to the offering plate and put offering in, I thought, hey, I'm going to sing this a lot more often, see if she puts in more money. He was looking for a way to be healed. Now this is the cool part. So Jesus, he sees all these people. It says in the Bible here that there's all kinds of folks who are there. On the Sabbath, mind you. This is not a place where they should be hanging out on the Sabbath, right? And being healed on the Sabbath, they all know would be breaking Sabbath law. But he's desperate. So he's hanging out there, and Jesus comes up to him and says this. Do you want to be well? Do you want to be healed? Now, did you catch what his response was? Because this is so telling of us. His response is this. Well, you see, whenever the pool is stirred, I can't get down there fast enough. And so everybody else gets down there and gets fast. And so it gives this litany of things of why he can't be healed. Now, I don't know about you, but I have prayed to God about certain things. And I've prayed to God about how I want God to answer that prayer. Oh, God, here's one of the good. Last week, I think it was, I had to go to the doctor. Now, I don't do doctors, okay, and I don't do shots. So our doctor, I have two that are out in Wilmer because I trained them well. So I'm praying, God, please help Dr. Schultz understand that I'm perfectly fine. She just needs to refill my prescription without the benefit of a blood test. And she didn't do that. Now, I'm still going to her because she's one who said I only have to come once a year, so we've negotiated that so far. But God doesn't answer prayers usually in the way that we define them to be answered. We want them in this little box. We want them to have a good rhythm like we put up. And we impose these things on Jesus. And Jesus does this. He says, do you want to be well? Now the guy gives this litany of stuff. And Jesus just says, oh, pick up your mat and go. Now, can you imagine being there for 38 years? And Jesus did not say, okay, I'm going to stir the water down there, and I'm going to keep everybody else back so you can be the first one down. Okay, that's how we're going to make this work. Now, can you imagine being there at the gate? Because I'm sure there were all kinds of rules that are implied because, there's a bunch of people there who are not feeling well. And they all want to be healed. And they're thinking, okay, now how would you like to be the deaf one? The deaf one is going, okay, he asked the blind one, will you let me know when it's stirred? Because I can't hear that. Or the blind one could ask the deaf one, or the paralyzed one, when he's going, hey, blindy and deafy, will you pull me down so I can get there? No, they all want to be healed. But Jesus isn't talking to all of them. He's just talking to the one. Do you want to be healed? Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Won't you wade in the water? God's gonna trouble the water. Let's all sing it. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, won't you wade in the water? God's gonna trouble the water. So Jesus heals the guy. He gets up, doesn't even ask Jesus his name. I mean, really, you would think you would ask the guy's name. Can I have your card? And then there are a couple of people who start asking him, hey, why are you carrying that mat? He told me to do it. Not my fault. He told me to do it. Who told you to do it? That Jesus. I don't know his name. I really don't know his name, but he told me to do it. I'm going to lay down now. You know, healing on the Sabbath is forbidden. Carrying a mat, working like that, that's forbidden. You can't be doing those things. Jesus meets up with him later, right? Meets up with him in the temple. And he has a message for this guy. He says, in the Really Living Bible, he says, you shape up. Now that you're healed, you shape up. And you'll be forever at the kingdom. Now, with a spiritual, have you noticed with spirituals that, they aren't meant for everybody to sing, I think, at times, because spirituals, people will start to do all kinds of weird things, right? Wade in the water, oh, wade in the water, wade in the water, 'cause God's gonna trouble the water. You can't follow that kind of stuff. No, everybody can't sing that kind of stuff. It starts to do all kinds of weird things. And I was thinking, God's like that. Because even though the message is the same, right? The message is the same, how God speaks to us can be very different. Have you ever found out that you could listen to something with a friend of yours and you hear different things? Some of you are reading through the Bible right now, reading through the New Testament. Have you ever noticed that you've read that passage before and you go, I knew it was there, but I didn't know it said that kind of stuff? Yeah. That's the Holy Spirit at work, being unique, speaking the same message to everybody, but you get to hear it in a new kind of way. Now, I need to tell you about this spiritual. Because it wasn't until even later on I found out that spirituals aren't just about Jesus and God and all that kind of stuff. They have this double message embedded in it, all right? So a double message. And the message for this one was, if you were a slave or a slave family, you knew that if you were trying to escape from your master, the best thing for you to do was to try to escape at night so people wouldn't see you, and to throw the scent off the dogs, because the master would often send dogs after all the slaves who were trying to escape. The thing for you to do is to get into the water. And if you were wading in the water, then that would throw off your scent, and they wouldn't be able to find you nearly as easily. But can you imagine being a family and you're trying to get out of that place that has got you in bondage, and you go, okay, I'm going to do that. But you're going at night, and you're going in the water, and you can't see. And you have to trust. You know that you have to get in that water. But getting in that water is a risk. And I think that's why Jesus asks, do you want to be healed? Been watching a series called Chicago PD, and this last episode of that, it had 3 different scenarios. One of the scenarios, though, was a woman who was hooked on heroin, and they were trying to get information out of her. And so in order to do that, they wanted her to get sober. So they were trying to get the heroin out of her system, but they would keep implying that they would let her have a hit of heroin once they got the information out of her. Well, once she was sober, this person who said, okay, over here, there's a clinic. And if you go to the clinic, it will change your life and you'll still stay sober. And right over there, across the street from this clinic, you see a dealer. And here's money, and you can go buy the heroin that you think that you need. You decide. And the weird thing about it is that we don't get to see what the lady decides. We only get to see the person who drives away. And we see nothing in the rearview mirror. But she gets to make a choice. Does she go to the clinic and receive life in that way? Or does she return to a life of heroin? Jesus asked, do you want to be well? And if you say yes, I can tell you, friends, it may not always be easy. I can nearly guarantee it. But I can tell you this, he will always be there. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, won't you wade in the water? God's gonna trouble the water. Amen.